Hey everybody, what's up, and welcome back to the Starcraft 2 Owned Shack at long last. It is David here bringing you another Master League Quest episode. Of course, there are some announcements that I need to make before getting into the commentary here. First, I just want to point out pretty good singer that I've come across on YouTube here. His name is Zacko Music, and I do suggest you guys go check out some of his vids. He basically does covers of some of his favorite artists, and it just so happens that I kind of like what he does. So if you are interested in that, go check him out. I will leave a link in the description. Now, going into this game, I just want to point out a few things first. One, I do apologize for the annoying music here fading in and out. Some new setting on the patch changed for me, and this happens. So don't worry, I will actually be turning that off pretty soon here. And yeah. Now, as for why I've been away, well, unfortunately, I'm sure many of you know that September came around, and that means I had to move into my new place, get ready, and basically start getting into the swing of things here at university again. So unfortunately, you can expect the number of videos that I make to somewhat go down from what I used to do in the past, last year. It will get more frequent than it has been, though. Just all the move-in and everything did take quite a bit of time and effort, and adjusting to this new house as well. Now, I will probably be making videos, well, no more than once per week. That's my goal right now. However, I would like your input as to how many videos you'd like to see from me. Once per week is the maximum, I'm going to say, just so I can obviously, finish my engineering degree without completely failing. And I would also like to know the type of videos that you want me to make. Of course, if I'm just making one per week, I won't be able to give you a wide variety. So the main three videos that I do are, of course, strategy videos, commentaries, and these Master League Quest episodes. If you have other suggestions, that's fine too, but I would like to hear your input as to what you want that video that I make once a week, or maybe even more if that's the frequency you desire. Then I just want to know what kind of video you want that to be. So let me know in the comments below. You can also leave suggestions on my channel page, pretty much anywhere. It's going to be just fine. Now, as for actual strategy discussion here, I also want to let you know that in Terran vs. Protoss, I will now be exclusively going mech. That means no more bio at all. Of course, opening 2 barracks, you might think that I'm being hypocritical, but no, this is in fact a transition into mech. I will not be getting any upgrades for these Marines or investing into bio in any regard whatsoever. So you can rest assured that you're going to see a lot of mech games like I used to be doing if, I keep doing these Master League Quest episodes. Now, as for my strategy here, with the new patch and the Raven buff, basically the Hunter-Seeker missile now traveling faster than it used to, I've been trying to experiment with Ravens in my TvP, namely for auto turrets actually. And the way I've been using these auto turrets is using them to form a wall in front of my siege tanks, because auto turrets actually have 1 armor intrinsically, and if you get the building armor upgrade from the engineering bay, it adds +2 armor. That gives these beasts 3 armor on the ground and quite a bit of DPS. So if you have this basically mobile wall that you can cast with your spellcasters, it's almost analogous to the way vulture mines worked in Starcraft 1. And don't let me confuse you or anything. I don't think for a second that auto turrets are better than vulture mines. I would take vultures any day of the week over that piece of crap. But still, it's the best we have in Starcraft 2, so I will be experimenting with that here. Because really, what I've found is that if you're going to win with mech, you simply need some kind of wall in front of your tanks. Otherwise, the charge lots just run up, and even if you're in perfect position, you can get A-moved, as evidenced by videos in the past where I've tried this strategy. So that's my overall game plan right here for this particular match. And this is a custom game, just in case you're wondering. It's not a ladder match. In fact, a lot of my Master League Quest episodes will probably be custom games from now on, simply because it allows me to be more, experimental and not have to worry about losing ladder rank. It also does decrease my FPS when I'm playing, so that's kind of frustrating, something I don't want to deal with when I'm in, a ladder game that's worth some points. Anyway, as you can see, this is the standard build that Avilo uses. Oh, by the way, if you guys remember when I did that 2-factory, or was it, oh, I'm sorry, 3-factory mech timing video against Protoss, the one that Avilo did. He has since basically updated his stream. He's now on Twitch TV, and I will leave a link to that in the description of this video, and the stream quality has been greatly improved. So if you like a lot of interesting strats, he does a lot of Sky Terran and mech in his matchups, as well as just like random things. He loves nukes. If you like that kind of stuff, you have to check out Avilo, because he's an absolutely stellar player, one of my favorites to watch. His stream does provide commentary sometimes as well, so that's always nice. And as I was saying, this is his strategy right here. Pretty much ripped it by the book. It's just a few little changes that I've made to update it. One thing I think that I do here is I don't get Blue Flame as fast for obvious reasons, because of course Blue Flame Hellions are simply not as powerful as they used to be. It doesn't make sense to invest in that as quickly. Gonna instead get some extra tanks. So of course with this strategy, with any mech strategy, like I said, I feel that the most important thing is that you get some kind of wall in front of your tanks, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. With this wall of bunkers and engineering bay, I will be able to protect those tanks should he charge in with, you know, charge lots, for example. So that's definitely something I suggest you guys do if you want to try mech. And, you know, I think that it's probably a good idea to even do things like this in your actual pushes or at your third base. And again, that just stems back to what I was saying before about how these auto turrets can be used for such a purpose. And right away you can see that my opponent here has put a proxy pylon there, and that's certainly annoying. But with mech, you're definitely a lot better equipped to deal with this kind of stuff, simply because siege tanks have such large range. And look at that, he tries to bust down the front, but with these bunkers, as well as the, of course, the missile turret and some other garbage got in the way there, the tanks are able to clean up house. And I kill a fair amount of sentries there, so I feel pretty good after that engagement overall. Now, obviously, I used this opportunity to see that he had expanded, because it's definitely... Whoa, what the heck was that? Yeah, there you go. I recommend getting the armory first from now on. I feel like the upgrades are more important than a starport, but once again, I will be checking this stuff out later. So, I'm going to be trying to get rid of that pylon. Unfortunately, I brought over the Marines, and thus only a couple of them had the range. Got to bring a tank over there as well. Now, this is basically where I deviated from Avilo's build. Avilo gets those 2 factories before he gets the armories, but I think, just for my style of play, I'm not as aggressive as he is. I prefer to get the armories first so that I can invest in the long game instead of a timing push, which Protoss players seem to be really good at dealing with now. I'm telling you, in the past I used to get free wins all the time from just building those 3 factories, pushing with a bunch of Blue Flame Hellions and tanks, and yeah, that's definitely a thing of the past. So, you'll also want to use your barracks as add-on horrors. It's always a good idea. That means that you can use them to put add-ons so that your factories can immediately swap onto an add-on after they're complete instead of having to build it. This gets you a little bit ahead on the production cycle and allows you to get those siege tanks or Hellions out just a little bit faster. It's definitely worth it. So you can see that I'm going to miss the... oh man, I hate missing that. My mouse accuracy has definitely gone down the toilet in my little hiatus here.
Insufficient Vespene gas.
The other thing I like about opening 2 barracks, actually, is the fact that in the late game, if you start with 2 barracks instead of 1 with a reactor, it means that you can double pump ghosts without having to construct an additional barracks. And ghosts are another thing that I think is essential to winning with mech. And the reason for that is, in fact, because of Archons. While mech used to be countered by Colossus to a certain degree, that style seems to be a little bit phased out at this point, I've noticed. Almost all of my Protoss opponents are now making Archons to combat the siege tanks, which is, of course, an excellent choice, simply because Archons have such huge HP and aren't armored, which means tanks don't deal their full damage to them. Now, of course, you can get some ghosts, but 1 barracks ghost isn't actually going to cut it against Archons, and I've found that out in many mech games that I've played recently. You actually need double barracks ghosts in order to completely spam EMP all over their army. You need to be hitting 3 EMPs on every Archon if you want a chance of surviving against that. However, should you land the EMPs perfectly, you are going to win that battle almost unscratched. So it's definitely worth it. Don't think that mech is weak because of this, because honestly, oh yeah, by the way, definitely important to scan, make sure that they're not getting Stargates. The double robo is always a bit of a sigh of relief for me, simply because I'm much better at dealing with robotics builds rather than the Templar tech. Ghost Micro simply isn't the greatest these days. I've also taken the watchtowers here, and that is obviously to ensure that I can take this base without some fear of getting flanked. If your tanks are simply unsieged in the middle of the map and you get flanked by the Protoss right now, it's game over. So just a little something you want to keep in mind. Now, because I threw down that scan and I saw that he didn't have a bunch of, Stargates, I pretty much decided, you know what, let's try that Raven play. Obviously, if they're getting Stargates, you're going to want Vikings. So I thought, you know what, let's get some Ravens with those Vikings instead. And that's what I'm going to be doing here, trying to lay down those auto turrets. Sensor tower is also extremely important on this map. For those of you who have played Starcraft 2 for any reasonable amount of time, you'll definitely be well aware of how powerful a sensor tower is at this place on Xel'Naga Caverns, simply because you can see across the cavern with it and determine which angle of attack the Protoss is going to be going for against your army. So yeah, I think I'm also adding some factories here. Man, this was a laggy game. I'm not sure why, but I do apologize for that. It's certainly not my intent to lag you guys out. It's almost bringing me back to those days when I first started this channel. Man, that was some serious lag, if you guys remember. Oh, of course, also, if you're going to invest in Ravens, you might as well get the Corvid reactor upgrade, which makes them start with 25 additional energy. This will inherently make them get extra auto turrets just a tiny bit faster. And you're really going to need a bunch of auto turrets, as you'll see here. Also note how I have chosen to wall off that side of my planetary fortress. This is also necessary. You simply need a wall, or as I said before, Protoss charge lots are going to get right up on your tanks, and that's something you can't really deal with in this game since you don't have defensive matrices from science vessels and there's no spider mines. So keep that in mind as you're playing through this style. I know I certainly tried, and as you can see, he has gone for the robotics, as I said, which means Colossi. With 2 starports, you can get double Raven, or you can get double Vikings, so, obviously your Viking count's going to be lower than it would be otherwise, but it's still, I'd say that it gives you a little bit more flexibility in your tech. Now, upgrades are also being researched at this point. Sadly, I have... Oh my goodness. Well, that's kind of bizarre. I thought for sure I'd have enough gas at this point for that vehicle armor upgrade, but apparently 3 base geysers is not enough, so whatever. There it goes now. And basically your main timing for doing any kind of push is after you've gotten the 3-3. There's no sense really pushing before that in this particular game. Sorry, when I mean by this game, I don't mean StarCraft 2. I mean this actual game I'm playing now. There's no sense in pushing because he didn't try and take a greedy third. He wasn't really going for some all-in that I blocked. So there's no reason for me to be doing like a 6 factory timing. Oh man, that reminds me actually, there's a strategy video I really want to make for you guys. It's a 4 factory timing push. It's one of Goody's builds and it is sick. It's really, really powerful. Really strong. Really makes you feel like you're playing StarCraft 1. Now, building armor now being researched at that engineering bay. And as I said before, that does give your turrets and planetaries, all your turret structures, just extra damage, which really helps against those charge lots. And right there, that is the obligatory late game DT that Protoss players always make against mech because it's simply so good. Dark Templar actually abuse the immobility of mech because, of course, you can't move your siege tanks to go deal with that. You need to move your Hellions over there. And if your Hellions go over there, you are somewhat out of position. Now, these Thors, let's discuss the Thors here. So the Thors were a decision I made. Basically, I'm going to put it this way. I've decided to try some new stuff, and the new stuff that I'm trying is replacing some of those Hellions with Thors, simply because Thors tank a lot more damage. Oh yeah, never mind. Okay, hold that thought for a sec. Here's a huge attack coming, and as you can see, my micro is not going to be the best here. You need to land the auto turrets before the zealots cover all the space that you could possibly leave them on, as well as before your ravens get feedback by the Protoss army. But as you can see, the wall that I had there really helped a lot, and I cleaned that force up with extreme ease. He tries to target down that planetary, but man, oh, that makes me want to play a game right now. That really upset me. I feel like if I had just microed better, I could have come out with almost 200 supply right there. Sadly, alas, that was not the case, and the game has been somewhat reset. Now, as I was saying before about those Thor, if you have a few Thor in your army, they tank so much damage that it'll actually allow your siege tanks to deal a sick amount of damage from behind. And I think that's extremely valuable when compared to the Hellions, which simply melt at this point in the game when there's Colossi on the field. So I feel like Hellions are good early game TvP with mech, but once you get to this late game scenario where he's maxed out on really high tech units that just deal massive amounts of splash damage, you need those Thors to tank, or you're just not going to have a robust enough army to deal with it. I do recommend keeping a few Hellions around, of course, just for a simple harassment like that. And you'll notice there I didn't even bother getting the Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade for them this game. I really feel like that upgrade is not worth it anymore. It's, I don't know, at least not in this matchup. Kind of undecided with the others. So I'll now be trying a push. This is a scenario where you'd want to make a bunch of, well, auto turrets first of all, but also you can make supply depots ahead of your tanks in order to, you know, sort of supplement that wall that I mentioned. Keeping the Ravens ahead of your army is essentially so you can quickly put down those auto turrets, leapfrog the siege tanks up, and once again, really late on the auto turrets. Bit of a mistake there. Definitely could have gone so much better if I had just laid those down. But like I said, this is a completely new style for me, so micro mistakes like that are obviously acceptable. Ghosts were right on time, I feel. Unless they're going for those Immortals or those Archons, you don't need Ghosts as fast, but in the late game, obviously, there's no reason for you to not have them in a huge quantity. Now, right when you're being attacked with mech, that's the perfect time to move out with your Hellions and just deal some sick damage. So I'm going to split these bad boys up, try and roast some probes here at the gold. I thought for a second that, man, that was a nice hit. I thought for a second that there was actually a Dark Templar there, so I scanned. But anyway, meanwhile, I'm getting a bunch of siege tanks, and I will be making a massive wall of supply depots in order to prevent the zealots that are inevitably being made by him from just coming in and destroying everything. Also, because he's so zealot heavy, I mean, look at that. That's godlike play right there. Look at, man, oh, guys, you need to start making walls in mech. This is so powerful, I'm not kidding. And you can even cancel all those after for essentially free because minerals are so not what you need in mech. But anyway, because I took out all of those probes, I'm actually not as drastically behind as I could be. Of course, I am behind. Like there's no question about that. But it could have been a lot worse had I not done that little harassment. So it's something I do suggest you guys do. Really think it's a good sort of, some kind of strat. But oh my goodness, I'm sorry guys. There's something actually I have to mention here. I've switched to Vikings at this point because he's not making stalkers anymore. So that's a great thing about people who are abusing charge lots. If they do that, you simply get your Vikings out, and what are they going to do now? He has nothing to defend it, so he's forced to pull back. Also note the auto turrets definitely did their job in that scenario. So I think that at this point the strat is to sort of reclaim a base. The gold, I don't think it's even worth reclaiming at this point because I almost mined that one out. So I will be landing that. I thought, okay, I'll bring it over there, but in reality that was a terrible idea. Gonna try and kill that Dark Templar as well. Got tanks here. And this is the danger zone that I was talking to you guys about. As you can see, my tanks are just left completely undefended there. And if I had mineral income right now, I would of course construct a big wall in front of those tanks so they can't just be, raffle stomped by charge lots. The other thing, that I want to mention about this build. I'm sorry that I'm just regurgitating so much information right now, but it's been so long since I've talked to you guys, and all these strats have been going through my head. If you research that durable materials... Oh, there's VT Avilo signing on right now. There you go.
Not enough minerals.
Yeah, you can add him and ask him questions while he streams. It's another awesome thing that not a lot of streamers offer. But anyway, the durable materials upgrade, as I get completely cleaned up by his army here, allows your auto turrets, your point defense drones to last longer. So they'll actually stay erected for a longer period of time than they would without that upgrade. And what that means is that you can put them up prematurely. You can actually set up your auto turrets in advance of the battle and have them stay there for quite a long time. I mean, I think it's almost 5 minutes that the things last for with that upgrade. And that's just huge. It means that you can just push up without having to react to your opponent. So you don't have to split second throw down those auto turrets and hope that his zealots haven't charged up on the space you wanted to land them on. Now anyway, that's the end of the game. I really hope you enjoyed this particular video. I'll definitely be bringing more mech games like that in the future in all matchups. Gonna definitely try and refine this build a bit. Thank you once again for watching, and I hope to see you again for another Daily Dose of Ownage.